What reveal Hamilton classification data in the GP of the Netherlands 2025? In a traditionally challenging circuit, the 7-time world champion gives a shocking answer. Today, we explore their surprising performance in Zandvoort. In the GP of the Netherlands 2025, that adaptation began to bear fruit. During the first half of the season, Hamilton was fighting not only with the performance of the car, but also with the technical and aerodynamic adjustments that Ferrari had tried to apply to improve the behavior of the SF25. Despite being an experienced pilot and one of the most successful in history, Hamilton could not escape the reality that Ferrari needed time to build a car that was completely adapted to his driving style. However, the classification session in Zandvoort was a clear indication that things began to change for him. Only 0.050 seconds from his partner Charles Leclerc, Hamilton achieved his first classification in top 10 in several weeks. This proximity with Leclerc, who during the season had dominated the internal classifications with a record of 12 wins against Hamilton, indicated that he had finally found the operational window he had been looking for in SF25. The internal fight within Ferrari had been a recurring theme, and Hamilton knew that he should balance teamwork with the need to improve his times and results. Throughout the season, there had been much talk about the importance of pilots working together to improve car performance, but there was also a constant competition between both pilots. The classification of the GP of the Netherlands, where Hamilton was so close to Leclerc, showed that it was not only a matter of learning and adapting, but also of taking full advantage of opportunities when the car finally began to bear fruit. This moment not only represented a personal advance for Hamilton, but also a sign that Ferrari was, little by little, approaching the competitiveness they needed so much. Despite the difficulties, the British pilot had begun to understand the complexities of the SF25, which meant that the second half of the season could be much more promising. In addition, the telemetry data collected during the classification confirmed that Hamilton had finally found the optimal SF25 operating window. In particular, the average speed curves, where Hamilton had suffered so much in the first rounds of the season, began to feel more natural for him. This translated into greater confidence when it comes to braking and more precise handling when entering the curves. Ferrari engineers reported a significant improvement in Hamilton's control, which was directly reflected in their return times. The emotional context also played an important role. After a complicated and frustrating period for Hamilton, the GP of the Netherlands represented an opportunity for redemption. The classification was a clear indication that, despite the difficulties he had faced, arduous work and constant adjustments with his team began to give results. Hamilton's mentality, his ability to adapt and learn, became evident in the way he faced the classification in Zandvoort. This result not only represented a personal improvement for Hamilton, but also brought a respite to the Ferrari team. During a large part of the season, the Italian team had been overshadowed by the lack of consistency in the performance of its pilots and the car. However, in Zandvoort, Ferrari seemed to be finding the way to competitiveness, and Hamilton's performance, closer to Leclerc, suggested that the Scuderia was beginning to better understand the SF25 and its capabilities. The classification of the Grand Prix of the Netherlands 2025 was not only a milestone in terms of results for Lewis Hamilton, but also revealed crucial aspects about the technical improvements implemented in its car, the Ferrari SF25. Throughout the first races of the season, Hamilton had struggled to find an adequate balance with the car, especially with regard to aerodynamics and stability in high-speed curves, a key area in which the SF25 had shown limitations. However, in Zandvoort, Ferrari engineers had applied a series of settings that made a clear difference. One of the most significant changes was the modification in the suspension configuration, which was specifically adjusted to adapt to Hamilton's driving style. Ferrari, aware that Hamilton has a very technical and precise approach, began experimenting with different configurations so that the car responded better to its preferences. These modifications focused mainly on improving the stability of the rear train, an area where Hamilton had felt a lack of trust during the first races of the season. The adjustments allowed the SF25 to have a better behavior in the medium speed curves, which were precisely one of the greatest difficulties for Hamilton in the first half of the season. The analysis of telemetry data after the classification showed a clear improvement in the way Hamilton could control the car in these technical sectors. Telemetry revealed that, in particular, there was a greater consistency in the entrance time to the curves, which allowed it to stop later and with more confidence, without compromising stability. This change was key, since during the first races, Hamilton had complained about the lack of stability when braking, which affected his ability to maintain a competitive rhythm. In parallel, Ferrari engineers also made improvements in the aerodynamic balance of the SF25, an essential component in a circuit like Zandvoort, where the ability to keep the car attached to the asphalt in the rapid curves is fundamental. Aerodynamic adjustments not only improved stability, but also optimized the efficiency of the car in the most technical sections, which allowed Hamilton to get the most out of each return. Modifications in aerodynamics were implemented in order to improve the adhesion of the car without compromising its speed in line, which is vital in a circuit like Zandvoort, which combines long straight with demanding curves. Finally, Hamilton's evolution was not only the result of technical improvements in SF25, but also a significant change in its approach to car driving. The British pilot, aware that he was in a learning process with Ferrari, made adjustments in his driving style to better adapt to the behavior of the SF25. Throughout the first races, Hamilton had to modify certain aspects of its piloting for more performance, and in Zandvoort, these modifications began to bear fruit. His ability to adapt rapidly and find a new way of piloting the SF25 was one of the keys to his success in the classification. The combination of technical improvements in the car and the evolution of Hamilton as a pilot with Ferrari represented a crucial moment in the season. Not only was I returning to the fight for the top positions, but it was also demonstrating that Ferrari, over time, could be able to challenge the fastest teams such as McLaren. The classification in Zandvoort was not only a positive result in terms of positions, but also a sign that both Hamilton and Ferrari had begun to find the appropriate formula to be competitive. The emotional and mental impact that Hamilton's summer rest had on his performance in the Netherlands Grand Prix was more significant than many could have imagined. Throughout the season, Hamilton had shown signs of frustration, not only with the performance of the car, but also with the Ferrari SF25 adaptation process. The 2025 season had begun in a complicated way, and after several difficult weekends, in which he had even felt overwhelmed by difficulties, summer rest came as an urgent need to recalibrate both mentally and emotionally. Before Zandvoort, Hamilton was transparent about the challenges he had faced in the first races of the season. In his statements, he admitted that he had to make significant adjustments in his approach to the conduction of the SF25. These modifications not only referred to the technical aspects of the car, but also to its mentality and how the challenges presented by the new environment in Ferrari faced psychologically. Hamilton made it clear that the learning process with Ferrari had not been as fast or as simple as he had anticipated. Despite being one of the most experienced and successful pilots in the history of Formula One, he was in an unprecedented situation for him. A car that did not immediately adapt to his driving style, and a team that was still in the process of finding his best form. The summer pause was key for Hamilton to reflect, reposition, and in many ways, meet his passion for motoring. In his own words, it was a period of self-discovery where he could rethink his approach to races. This not only had an impact on his performance on the track, but also on his relationship with the team. Hamilton began working with a new perspective, with a more positive attitude and confident in his ability to adapt and overcome adversities. This mental transformation was evident from the first day in Zandvoort, when in the first practice sessions, it showed significantly stronger performance than in the previous ones. The 2025 Grand Prix not only represented an improvement in Lewis Hamilton's performance, but also a clear indication that Ferrari is beginning to find its way to competitiveness. With his 7th position in the classification, Hamilton showed that, despite the initial difficulties, the Italian team can be a serious contender in the fight for the championships. The evolution of SF25, which has gone through a series of technical settings in its configuration, is beginning to offer more consistent results, and Hamilton's ability to quickly adapt to the car has been fundamental in this process. As for Ferrari, the team must feel optimistic. While McLaren is still the team to beat, Hamilton's closeness with Leclerc in Zandvoort indicates that Ferrari is overcoming some of his internal obstacles and beginning to better understand his car. The challenge is still great, but with Hamilton's experience, the team has a pilot capable of guiding them through the complexities that await them in the fight for titles. The road to the podium will not be easy, but with each classification session and each race, Hamilton and Ferrari are getting closer and more to their goal. So what do you think? Is this the moment when Ferrari finally manages to challenge McLaren and Red Bull? Will Hamilton be able to find even more rhythm with the SF25? Leave your opinion in the comments and do not forget to subscribe to follow the analysis of each Grand Prix, the most shocking strategies and stories of Formula One.